Well, good morning. It's 10 a.m. on a very auspicious day because it's 10 o'clock in the morning on the first day of autumn. 1st of September, meteorological autumn. And I'm at Loch Turret, which is a reservoir just north of Crieff. It's a beautiful morning. I think we should just stop just for a little bit, just to fully appreciate just what a beautiful morning it is. Wow, bit of a stunner. It's very, very calm. There, I can hear the hum of all the bees on the heather down there. But I have got my midge repellent on because I remember from being here in August one year, just how very midgy it is along here, and it's like this thin mist. I can feel it, and I've just put sun cream on as well, which is sticky. So I'm sure my face will probably be black by the time I get towards the end of the loch. Today's objective is Auchnafree Hill, which is 789 metres. It's a Corbett, and it's essentially the highest point on a big sort of stretch of high moorland up there on that side of the loch. If you're not sure where this is, we'll get a better sense of where we are in relation to everything else once you get up high, because there's pretty stupendous views out in all directions to very familiar hills. But it's, I say, just west of Crieff. You come through the A85 through Crieff, come out the west side, and then there's a turning for famous grouse experience, the Glen Turret distillery, and you head up behind that, and then you carry on all the way up this road, which climbs in a short space, very easily to about 300 metres. So it's a really nice place to park and get up high for a lofty walk. And it's one of my go-to places, I suppose, for the big hills that are closest to home. It only takes a little over an hour to get here from Fife. So this is one of if I don't feel like driving, like I was saying the other week on Clacking the Bane, I don't always feel like driving a long distance. So this at Loch Turret, for me, and for most people I suppose in the Edinburgh side of the Central Belt, is quite an easy option. It's a quick way of getting high up into some pretty stupendous hills. Despite everything I've said about knowing that this is a nice place to come to access bigger hills quite easily, I'm ashamed to say I've quite forgotten, or completely forgotten, just what a pretty place it is. I mean, it was just beautiful this morning. Really lovely. Yes, it needs more trees. That's all we can always say that. But such as it is, it's a really lovely place to come, and because it's generally devoid of Munros in this part of the world, I suppose it doesn't get that much attention. I mean, there is, over there, that big lump in the distance, that's Benvironment, which is a Munro, which tends to be climbed from Glen Turret over the other side of here. You can have a much more interesting walk up Benvironment by coming and parking at the car park near the dam, and then coming along up these hills, all the way along the ridge, and then coming, if not back down this path, you could even come back along the top of there, which I've done once. That's a lovely round, and you get to see a much more craggy side of Benvironment that you just don't see if you come up from the other side. So I was desperately trying to read up on this place before coming out today, trying to get some information for you about the reservoir, when it was built and all that kind of thing. And I went onto the wonderful site of Undiscovered Scotland. I don't know if you visited that. It's a wonderful site. But it was heartening to see that they took the same view that I did. I think they'd said as well that some people view that hill as boring, and these hills in general as boring. And they said pretty much the same thing I did, was those people who find a Scottish hill boring should probably go and take up something more challenging, like knitting. So it's nice to see that other people find that, think that too. Sorry sheep. I had a nice place in the sun and then along I've come and... Sorry. Today's walk. We go for about 4 kilometres along this track, not all of it alongside the loch. It climbs way up there. Once you go beyond the loch, it climbs up to sort of this pass up here, and then they're going to come up over the tops of these hills, go all the way along and then come back down. There are tracks like this, to this quality, going up the hill. You can just see the scar on the hillside. There it is, see? Coming down the way. So there are tracks you can use to get up there, but easier as that may be, it doesn't make for the most rewarding experience in my view. I quite like using these tracks to get along, get a couple of kilometres in, up, you know, up the glens maybe. But once you're getting up onto the hillside, I don't want to be on big wide tracks, although there's probably no avoiding it at the top. There's a big one that will take all the way along back the way. But it's nice to sort of cut up. There's lots of these sort of clefts, and every time I come here I tend to take a different one to get up and access Auchnafree hill up there. Oh, lovely peacock butterfly. Nice to see. I was saying last week, clacking the bane about the butterflies. It's often hard to tell what a butterfly is when you see it fluttering around the place until it actually lands, but with peacocks, they're one of the few that you can actually tell what it is from its flight, whereas lots of butterflies seem to fly quite erratically. They fly fairly straight, not like a bird, but you know, compared to other butterflies, they fly quite straight, with lots of sort of the wings held out a bit more than other butterflies, a bit like gliding. It's quite a distinctive flight it has. And at the moment, I just keep pushing it further along. It just keeps landing, and then I come along and shove it along again. Off you go. Here it goes. Just fly left or right and get off the road. It is getting silly now. It has been doing this. It's been with me for at least the last 200 or 300 meters. It just keeps doing it. You know, when you go walking in the Alps and you have those dogs, oh, red grouse, famous grouse, and you have those dogs that follow you all the way up mountainsides. I'm beginning to feel like it's like that. It's quite nice. Have my own butterfly companion all the way up. Oh dear me. I'm getting clouded with midges. I don't know if you're probably not showing up. Horrid things. Anyway, I'm gonna head over here. There's a sort of an interesting geomorphological feature over here I'd like to go and take a look at. These, what are called hummocky moraines over here. A legacy of glacial times. It's a real shame, isn't it, that it's not more wooded, as beautiful as it is. I mean, there's so little of it. Just what it's fringed down on the loch here, and then a few more way over there. It would be nice to see our glens wooded a bit more. Well, here we are, sort of the path's winding its way, going up that way through that cleft, but in the meantime we get to see this lovely array of hummocky moraines. It's as wonderful a term for a landscape feature as you could hope for, really. I love it, hummocky moraine. There's anything to do with moraines, it's sort of what glaciers leave behind. There's different types of moraines. There's glaciers, the really, really big ones, as they push down a valley or across a landscape, will push out dirt to their sides, and those are lateral moraines, where sort of as far as the glacier reaches, where its nose reaches, as far as it goes, the end, the very, very bottom end of the glacier, that too shovels stuff in front of it as it goes, and when it recedes it leaves like a wall like a dike, I suppose, in a way, and that's a terminal moraine. And then you've got other stuff as well. You've got like drumlins and other stuff, but this, I believe, are hummocky moraines. Hummocky for very obvious reasons, and these are really handy to discern, because the heather's really bringing them out. Actually, so you can see just how hummocky this landscape is. A really peculiar landscape. That you look at it, sometimes you think, well, surely that's going to be something man-made. It looks like maybe it's been quarried, but it hasn't. It's completely natural. Oh, look, there's some deer down there somewhere. Where are they? There they are. Anyway, it's what's called a geomorphological feature. It says it comes under the umbrella of geology, but geology relates to sort of the earth and rocks and what the earth has produced in terms of magma and all that, and lava and all that sort of stuff. And geomorphology is the way that other elements, things like wind and frost and rain, and glaciers affect the landscape and the things they leave behind. So scree slopes are sort of geomorphological, and sand sculpted features in the landscape, like the Bunnet Stain in Fife, things like that. Now this is the sheep coming in. There's one vehicle up there, and there's another down here somewhere. I ended up stopping and chatting to a farmer for 20-25 minutes actually, just down there. And he was just saying about the challenges they had of trying to drive the sheep over this hill. So he sat there, oh there he is, on his quad. There he goes, with quad and his dogs. He's been sitting with the binoculars, watching the sheep up there, waiting for the signal of them moving because they're being driven, for him to go and approach from this side. So I just had a really interesting conversation about farming and up here and the weather and challenges and problems with the ravens and things, crows pose to sheep, pecking their eyes out, all that sort of stuff. It's interesting when you get the chance to actually speak to people who farm hillsides, whatever you think about it, just to sort of hear the other side in terms of the challenges that they face in eking out an existence, a living off hillsides like this. But then it's also always worth, assuming they're always going to stop. I mean, for the most part, on my experiences, they always stop to talk. If you sort of give them eye contact and engage and smile and actually motion to pause and stop, they usually will too if they're coming past in a quad or something. Because that's your opportunity just to ask what they're doing on the hillside and on the day that you're walking. Like on this particular day, he was just saying in a very friendly way where you headed. His concern obviously being that they're driving sheep and didn't want me messing it up. But they're doing what they're doing up on Ben Honzie and along this side. So I just said, no, I'm heading up the cleft and then up Auchnafree. And he goes, oh, that's fine. So it's nice to have these conversations with people, with the state staff or farmers, hill farms, when you get the chance, because not only do you get to sort of help foster a better relationship between recreational users and people that work the land, the more positive experiences we can have, the more mutual sort of respect there might be in the long run. So it works to that advantage. But also, in terms of, this is quite irrelevant for me, pronunciation of place names, it's actually quite nice to get that local knowledge. And also, you can just ask, if there's things you're not sure about, just ask stuff. You can learn a lot from people who actually live here and work here. If it's just things on your head, something pops into your head and you go, oh, why is that like that? Or why is that rock doing that? Or what is it that you do with the sheep here and there and everywhere? And they'll tell you, and they'll be more than happy to tell you. So it's nice, it's a nice interaction to have on a walk. I'd like to think maybe he got something from it too, because I was saying that I wanted to go down and check out these hummocky moraines, and he didn't really know what that was, and that they were glacial necessarily. So it's nice to have that exchange of information. But he thought maybe he was going to have to sit there all day with his binoculars looking, but there they are, and the sheep There. Moving at speed. I don't think there's any easy way of doing it. I was saying to him, I have seen farmers up on hillsides, and sometimes you see the sheep just making a beeline for the farmer. And it can't be that easy. I know it's not that easy a lot of the time. Oh, hello. Look what's crossing the road up ahead. Don't know if they've seen me. There's a lot of them crossing. Oh, there's some young stags. Look. But I definitely, oh look, the stag. I don't think they've seen me yet. The wind's coming towards me, so I'm downwind of them. They'll bolt as soon as they see anything. I don't think that's me they're looking at. They can hear the farmers shouting. There's a lot of them though. We're just coming, I mean, this is into September now, so the rut won't be far away. It won't be long before the glens are sounding out with primeval calls of stags. What a wonderful noise, wonderful time of year on the hill. Well, we are now getting up high to the head of the glen, and there's a wonderful view back down Loch Turret, and you can start to see sort of now the oak hills in the distance, the other side of Strathern. Get a sense of where we are. If you go over that, you're at the Forth. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's really, really lovely. What a lovely place, and there's no one here. Like I was saying earlier, you forget sometimes, I think, just how staggeringly beautiful some of these places that you keep coming back to are. I mean, it's obvious they are, because that's why you keep coming back to them. But this is a real beauty. And this is the craggy aspect of Ben Honsie, with its loch and down below as well. Poor Ben Honsie, people are ever so rude about it. But how can anyone say that this is boring? There's a definite browning to the bracken, isn't there? Definite change of colour going on. Part of the reason I'm out today, like last week, clacking the bay and saying that sometimes it's hard to summon the enthusiasm to get out. But this morning, I was experiencing that again, I won't lie. But then just knowing that it's the 1st of September, which is start of meteorological autumn. It's not a way of viewing the seasons that a great many people subscribe to, I'll admit. I can't even say it. Meteorologists, of course, like to. They call it meteorological autumn because the meteorological summer is June, July and August. Technically the three warmest months of the year, and then the three coldest are obviously winter, which is December, January and February. And then you've got spring and summer, the 3 months that fit in between. So it's one way of sort of viewing the seasons. I did a piece for Walk Highlands last year about, when does autumn start, and asked people on social media, on Twitter and Facebook and that, and when does autumn start for you? Is it a date? Is it something you're looking out for? Is it the 1st of September? For most people it wasn't a specific date. There are people that follow sort of the astrological seasons, so is it the 21st, 22nd of September, whenever that is, but the equinox. Most other people who I asked have they're following, although they wouldn't know it, it's a phenological, looking for signs of phenology, which is essentially how the natural world responds to climate and seasons and stuff like that. So it could be anything. It could be the browning of the leaves, the swallows leaving for the winter, the first brambles coming out, the rowan berries on the trees. People had all kinds of things that they were looking for, on the lookout for. Everyone had like 2 or 3. A few people had one thing that they were waiting for, but quite a few people were looking for sort of a small collection of things that indicated that autumn was coming then and autumn was here. For me, I think it's not, there's all kinds of signs that autumn's on its way, I suppose, but it's more a feeling, I think, and quite a few people did say that. Quite a few people saying it's a feeling, it's not any one thing, it's just this sense that autumn's here. Quite a few people said, you know, they related it to a sense of smell, you know, and I know what they mean by that. I mean, it's when you go, comes a point, usually in September, when you get, you know, a nice straight northerly, and it's just that freshness. I swear you can smell snow on the breeze, you know, and the air is so clear, and it's just, you walk out, and I've had this when I've been walking around in the Lowman Hills at home, just on evenings or days like that, and you'll have people that sort of walk past and they go, oh, it's like autumn's here. People just know, there's this feeling that it's here. The thing is, you know, when it's as bit tenuous as that, the next day it could be gone. It could be summer the next day, I suppose. Yeah, so everyone's got different things. I think the signs that I look out for, the things that help me to get the sense of autumn and how it's doing are, yeah, the swallows leaving, sort of the summer birds going, the geese, but that doesn't tend to happen till October, really. The geese, the pink-footed geese coming back from Iceland and Greenland. The leaves, I suppose, but it could be, yeah, it's all kinds of things. But certainly, even though I subscribe to the phenological idea of autumn, of seasons in general, I can't deny that when the 1st of September comes along, I'm looking for any excuse, quite frankly, to welcome autumn to our shores. And so the 1st of September, it could be a blazing hot summer's day. It's fairly warm today and nice and sunny, but I do get quite excited, and I can feel a sort of a spring in my step, even though it's not crisp, cold, frosty weather. I can still feel it. I can feel it coming, and the landscape is definitely browning. Certainly up here, there's still a bit of green, and down below in Crieff, the leaves are green on the trees, but there is browning of the trees going on as well. The beech and the birch and the maple all seem to be starting to turn, so that's a good sign. It's very exciting. Well, that's the Loch, which is looking very green, but then the name Loch Lwyn does mean green Lochen. I thought on the approach, maybe as I was coming up, that it was algae, but it's not. It's looks like it's either rushes or horsetails or something in there. Never actually been down here before. I've been pretty much up every cleft on that side of the glen, and I've come around the lip and around this way, but I've never come through here. So now we're off the track which we've been on for the best part of 2.5 hours. Now it's straight up the hillside, just following the path. There's a vague path, and we're going to go up that way. Well, look at this tiny little toad. You know what I was saying about how I faff on the hills? This is why I keep finding things like this. Look how small that is, this little toad. Isn't he lovely? He or she, can't tell. What a beauty. Wonderful view. Climbing higher. Oh, it's hard work. Oh, wow. The view's opening up to the other side, which is looking down into Glen Almond. It does feel very wild here, actually. It's not the most remote of Munros by any stretch of the imagination, but it does feel quite a long way from anywhere. I could really do with a nice big rock to sit on, because I haven't really stopped. It's a clegg. I've been going at it without stopping, and I should do with some lunch. Really? Where's a rock when you need one? Aha! Just what the doctor ordered. Could sit down in heather, but ticks. I've had a little pause, something to eat, something to drink. 5 to 1, God, I've been faffing. I'm getting midged, so I better push on. Onwards and upwards. And this is the top of something. I don't know what it's called. It's not the one that we're after. We're after Auchnafree Hill. Just see the cairn at the top. If it'll focus. There we go. So it's still quite a way. Further than I remember it, if I'm honest. Oh, the breeze is nice. It's hot. There's more of a breeze coming up Loch Turret than there is up here. Having to do a bit of bog hopping to get up the flanks. It's not the best introduction to this hill really, because once you get up the top, it's actually really nice walking. It's closely cropped heather, nice and open. It's actually one of my favourite summits, although he wouldn't. If it was anything like this, then it probably wouldn't be among my favourites. Oh dear. Actually a little disappointed. There's always see all these sort of brown, rusty coloured leaves. There's a few green ones around still, but look a bit like the leaves of strawberries, but they're actually cloudberry, which is an edible berry that grows up in the high altitude damp places in Scotland. It's one of the ones that's deceptive because when you see it, it looks like a shiny raspberry and very bright red. And normally you'd associate red with being ripe, but it's not the case with cloudberry. And you have to wait until it goes sort of a orangey golden colour. And it's used widely in Scandinavia, much more than it is here, as sort of a staple berry. And it's used in, what is it, Kopparberg? Their cider, whatever it is, whatever beer, ale thing, whatever. Don't drink those things. Whatever it is that Kopparberg make, they do a cloudberry version. But I was hoping there might be some here to nibble, but we're a bit late. It's more of a late July, August type thing. There's a small chance we might find some higher up, but I don't think we're going to. Yeah, this is a bit more like it now. This closer crop stuff, it's nice. So, levelling off, thankfully. And where is the cairn? I think it's somewhere over that way. I should gain sight of it in a bit. Aha! There it is. This is a true summit, I think. This indistinct mound with a tiny, tiny little collection of rocks. But that's not the one we want. We want the cairn. Lovely place to sit. Well, here we are, the 789 metre summit of Auchnafree Hill. Well, just shy of it because the summit's over there, but I hope you can see why it's probably one of my favourite summits. You know, it's got vision all the way around. It's nice and easy to walk over. I do like sort of a nice close cropped bit of moorland, I have to admit. And just the views out over towards Ben Honsie, and then further afield, over there to Ben Lawes. Over further to the north, what else can we see? All the way over, in fact, to the Lomond Hills, my home. East Lomond on the left, West Lomond on the right. Right, well, I've been going 4.5 hours really without stopping much apart from the traffic with the camera, so it's definitely time for tea and cake. Cheers! Eccles cakes, blast from the past. Had a surge of interest in these again in the last couple of months after not having them for about 30 years. They're amazing. It's very, very calm and relaxing, peaceful. I come up here quite a lot actually, probably every couple of years. It's usually, like I said down there, it's a quick place to get to. It's quick to get up, not necessarily the way I've come today, but it's quick to get up. And I usually come here when it's really hot. In summer, if I really want a walk and if it's too hot, I mean, I'll come up here because it's actually cooler and it's actually nice and it gets a nice breeze, even on those really cool, even on those really calm hot days. I was coming up in the heat wave and what was it, 2006 was it? Oh, I can't remember, but yeah, 2006 I think it was, when we had that bonkers hot weather and came up here, and it was a lot, I mean it was still hot, but it was a lot cooler than it was in Edinburgh anyway. It's a really nice place to relax and don't really want to go down. And there's just the sound of meadow pivets, bees, flies, and a breeze. Very nice. Right, moving on. Destination now is that cairn over there, long way off. It's just shy of a kilometre from here to the hill track, just over that way, and then on that for 3 or 4 kilometres past the cairn, and then it's just sort of a cutting across the open hillside back down to the car park. In a really good mood. I mean, I always am when I'm on the hills anyway. Even that time on Schiehallion last autumn, a horrendous time when everything went wrong. Even then, I was happy, but I'm quite ecstatic now. It's, even though it feels like a kind of a summer's day, and it's, you know, it's just the knowledge that it's autumn. It's nice. Winter is coming. And there we go, almost at the road. There is actually, because all these cloudberry leaves have gone over and they're all drying and shriveling up, it sounds and it feels like walking through, you know, deciduous leaves you'll get around town. So up here it does feel like autumn, with brown leaves on the ground kicking through them. Every time I come along here I always forget just how far down you have to go before coming all the way up again. I do know people that ride these tracks on this side of Glenturret and on the other side as well, because they go very high, you know, between 700 and 800 metres, and if you're really fit they're actually pretty good for biking. Actually, this is one of these clefts I was talking about. goes all the way back down to the Loch. It's one of the ones I came up, and it's just really pleasurable. I just remember thinking, I wonder if anybody's ever come up here. It's just got that feel about it. You think, why would anyone come up this particular cleft? You know, what function would it have? It is, of course, a means of getting up onto Auchnafree Hill, but I don't think it would be the most obvious route for people coming up the Loch. But that's why I say it's worth sort of investigating these things. It looks a bit improbable, maybe from this angle. It looks a bit narrow, but I promise you, it isn't. And it's actually really nice just following the burn all the way up. Really quiet and spectacular views back to there. Lovely. Lots of dippers, I seem to remember, while I was going up there. There we are. The penultimate cairn, in fact. And now we're on this side of the hills. The view south is really opening up. Well, that's it, last of the up. This was the cairn I always like to finish on, rather than that one. And it opens up to one of my favourite views, actually. If you can expose for it. You see there's Stobbinnen and Benmore in the distance there, the pairing in the far distance. It's maybe a bit early in the day, but you see how you've got the different grading, different hues going back the way of those different ridges. Usually lots of different shades of blue, and it's a photo I've taken a few times and just love the way it almost looks like a painting or a computer generated image. Really peculiar sort of way that the ridges go back in the sort of fading degrees of blue. Really nice picture, and I'm not the only one that's prone to taking a picture. I remember seeing I think it popped up on his Twitter feed, maybe, Murray Wilkie. Some of you, I think most of you probably follow his YouTube channel, the Steaming Boots, Scotland's Mountains. And he put a photo up on Twitter. I thought it was my photo because it was the same thing. It was the cairn, sort of on the left over there. The cairn was there, and then the different gradings of hues going back the way. And I just thought it was mine, but it's actually, I mean, I think it's one of his favourite views as well. So it's quite nice to see that other people recognise this as a good place to get a good photo. But it's an incredible view out that way, I'd say, because these are the sort of the highest things around here, and then it just sort of plunges down into Creef, which is there. That's Creef down there, and then you've just got the Oak Hills in the distance, way out over that way. Far away is Arran, right on the horizon. But really, it's this agricultural landscape that really it's quite incredible, really. I mean, you can see a huge distance. Perth is over there, way over there, and again my home, the Lomond Hills, Fife, over there, way over in the distance over there. I can see Largo Law, so you can see a long way. But it's a nice place to come when sort of this time of day, but during the winter when the light's starting to fade, and you've got the lights coming on, and then all the lights sort of all the way out along here. It's wonderful. A nice end to a cracking day, actually. So I think it's time to head back. It's always a bit depressing that you can actually see where you started. All the way down there is the car park, and hopefully my car is still there. I can't see it. Hopefully it's still there. I say I don't particularly like being able to see car parks from afar. Walking down off a hill in case my car's been nicked. Right, time to go.